Please go ahead and do so with cookies and sandwiches. I'd like to thank Ms. Cummings for opening up her doors to us tonight, for coming along with her staff. Staff members from 107, sorry for the delay. Always best laid plans. You think the Chromebooks are ready to go, and then technical problems, so we got to switch it up and get the iPads down to you guys so that you can have access after the presentation from iReady. So I invited iReady here specifically because one of the things that's really important to me is that we have our parents have an idea of what it is that our children are doing when it comes to the diagnostic assessments. So they happen 3 times a year, one between September and October, another time in January, between January and February, and then finally in May we go for the final end-year diagnostic. But to me, that information is only as good as what we as parents have knowledge of. So Larson from iReady is going to be here to share a little bit with you about what are some of the things that you guys have access to as parents. We have everyone's name in the back, so our team is just jotting down your child's password and user ID so that you can gain access to it. Some of you already see popping into iReady, which means you already know a little bit about iReady. But you're going to hear a little bit about mathematics, you'll hear a little bit about reading, and most importantly, how did your child perform during that first window? One of the things that I ask all of our parents to be mindful of is where your child is currently performing within domains. Now, your child might be excelling, might be well above standards, and that's terrific. Your child might be just meeting standards, also terrific. But they also might be struggling in certain areas. And that is okay too. What's important is having an understanding of where your child falls within that set of domains that they're assessed on. And then for you as a parent to say, teacher so-and-so, I noticed this is what's going on in my child's report. Talk to me a little bit about how I can help them. And more importantly, talk to me about how you're organizing in your class to help support my child improve their ability to read and engage in math. So I'm super appreciative for you guys to be able to join us tonight. I'm going to turn it over to iReady, who's going to bring us through this first portion as we start getting down your user IDs and passwords, and we'll make sure we come and get it to you, okay? All right? Enjoy the presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Larson Bowden. I am a iReady specialist. So today we're going to go over what exactly is iReady, this platform that probably your child has come home and raved to you saying, Mom, Dad, I did iReady, I finished my diagnostic, I'm doing my path. Like, what exactly is that? What does that exactly mean? So we're going to go run through the program components. What does it mean to say when they take the diagnostic? What is the MyPath? Right? What is personalized instruction? And all the other features that we have that is embedded within our platform. So our outcomes for today are going to be as follows. So self checks to keep us grounded in our time today. We're going to explore what iReady is and how the program can support student learning, understand how iReady adaptive assessment works, identify resources available to you, the families, and supporting your students, understanding how iReady personalized instruction works, and finally, explain learning games and how to act them. So hopefully by the end of the session, we're all walking away with saying, I understand the following and I can do the following. Our agenda is as follows. So, dive right into it. Section 1, iReady overview. So, iReady, it provides insight into student learning across K-12 skills. So, access from students' curriculum from the time they step into the classroom to the time that they're graduating high school. It pinpoints exactly what our students' strengths are, and more importantly, what are the students' what is that need for next steps of instruction to get our students to what we want them to be, which is on grade level. It provides our students with aspirational as well as attainable goals, right? Giving students attainable measures to meet their goals, such as, right, what does it mean to be on grade level? What does it mean to meeting your typical growth, your stretch growth, and being on par with not only academics, but the rest of your peers on grade level. And my favorite part, it provides every single student personalized online lessons based on their needs. So after the conclusion of their diagnostic, each student gets an individualized path that guides them and supports them in their specific skill need to help them get them on the path to being either on grade level or above proficiency. It also provides our teachers with resources for whole class instruction as well as small group instruction. So the purpose of the diagnostic is not just to be another assessment where our students take assessment and we just look at data and classify our students as ones and twos. That is not the purpose of a diagnostic. The purpose of our diagnostic is really to support our students' learning and really close those gaps in which they need additional support to help them get on path to being proficient and really understand skills at a fundamental level rather than a surface level, so that way they're able to carry that learning across from K to 12 onto college and most importantly into life. So as you know, our assessment is an adaptive assessment. So what does that mean? The assessment it adapts to students' performance. So as students are getting the question correct, the difficulty of the test, it may increase. As students are getting questions incorrect, the difficulty level of the assessment may decrease as well. So students are receiving hard, challenging questions, easy questions, and questions that are just right to meet their demands. So we usually say when students are taking this assessment, they are expected to get 50% of the questions right and 50% of the questions incorrect. The reason being that allows the assessment itself, the diagnostic, the adaptive process, to really pinpoint exactly where the student's strengths are and where exactly are those needs, specific needs to help that student close those gaps. So if you're looking at the chart here, as the questions get progressively harder, and it follows the flow all the way through the end to gauge the student's accurate score. So that's something that our teachers really front for our students and name for our students prior to even taking the diagnostic. Like, hey, you can expect to get 50% of it right, 50% of it wrong, because we really want to know exactly what you understand and how we can support you moving forward. So again, some questions are going to be hard, easy, and just the right amount to really support their needs. So after the conclusion of the diagnostic, the teachers, they get a diagnostic results report. What does this mean? It's the insight into your child's individual performance based on your diagnostic, right? So if I'm looking at my bar here, this shows how a student performed on the diagnostic. So let's say this student here got a score of 478. This green bar here indicates what it means to be on grade level, right? So you're looking at how this student performed. They are below grade level, but they're not that far off, right? To be considered on grade level, it's about 500. They scored a 472, so they're about 20-ish points away from being on grade level. Here we also, I know it's kind of blurry, so I do apologize for that. We have what's called the typical growth. So the typical growth is a goal that each one of our students have. So the best way to explain typical growth, picture yourself being compared to everyone in this classroom. So as an average, right, let's imagine we're all fifth grade students. On average, it took us 22 points to reach a certain number. You now are going to be compared across everyone else. So in order to reach that certain number, you're going to have a specific growth goal to meet in order to meet your typical growth. So each student receives a typical growth and hence to get them on path to meeting and being on grade level. We then have what's called the stretch growth. Stretch growth is more ambitious. It's a goal that we put forward to our students that are below grade level and our students that are on grade level to get them on the path to being on grade level or above grade level. So when you think of typical growth, our students are expected to reach that growth within one calendar year, so one school year. The stretch growth students are typically going to achieve that goal between 2 and 3 calendar years, more so because is an ambitious goal, right? So if I have a student that is a fifth grade student and is performing at a third grade level, right? The gap that that student has to close is a little bit large, yes, but it's possible with the right resources and resources in place. But hence why 2 to 3 years to close that gap. Any clarification on that? I know that was wonky. All right. So this report is what our educators use to really gain an insight into what our students can do, right? And what are the next steps for instruction. So looking at this, looking at the bottom, it gives us a breakdown based on domain. So with our math domain, with our math assessment, excuse me, we have 4 domains. We have number and operations, we have measurement and data, algebra and algebraic thinking, and geometry. So your students are tested across those 4 domains for math. For ELA, they're tested across 7 domains: phonological awareness, phonics, high frequency words, vocabulary, comprehension literature, and comprehension reading. After those completion of those, then we get an analysis into what are those the strengths that student has between each domain. So let's say a student struggled in one domain compared to the other. It's not that they don't have access to that domain. It's just that they probably just need additional more support or more help within that domain. But the good thing with this report, it gives us insight into exactly what they can do with it. We call it can do's, can do within that specific domain, as then it gives the teacher next steps for instructions and how to close those gaps to support those students. This is how your view looks like. This is the family report. And I'll show you guys in just a second how you can see this for yourself as well. So similar to the diagnostic result where the teacher views, your report gives you the same thing. It shows you how your student has progressed from the first diagnostic towards the last diagnostic at the end of the year, and pinpoints exactly, explains to you what each domain is, as well as next steps for you guys to support your student at home as well within each specific domain. So when your students log on to their MyPath, this is their view. As you can see, it varies. One is a little bit more kid-friendly. The other one's a little bit more, refined, progressive. That's because it's our platform is more age-appropriate. So for the first one, this is what our students in grade K to 2, this is what they see when they're in their MyPath. Versus our students that are in 3 and up, that's their view. So when students are logging into their MyPath, they get 2 options. They have their reading or their math. So they select whichever one is either being instructed to do. From there, this is their view within their MyPath. They have their MyPath, which are lessons that are generated by the iReady platform. So you took your diagnostic. Now the platform has identified that these are your strengths and these are your areas of improvement. Now we are going to provide you lessons to support those areas of improvement. So these are lessons that are automatically generated by iReady. The one that says teacher assigned, those are lessons that the teacher themselves assign additionally to support the student needs. In the bottom where it says to do, right? First thing your child sees, and when you log on to their platform, you'll see the to-dos, both the MyPath and teacher assigned. Then you have the progress bar. So in the progress bar, they can see how much time they have spent on their MyPath and how many lessons they have passed, as well as any streaks. So with our data, we've indicated that if students are on their MyPath for 30 to 49 minutes for both ELA and math, they are more than likely to, one, meet their typical growth and be on path to being on grade level. I'm gonna say it again, 30 to 49 minutes for both ELA and math a week. So let's say I'm shooting for the low end. I'm saying 30 minutes. That's 6 minutes for both ELA and math throughout the course of the week, 12 minutes total. For our students that are a little bit more below grade level, they can exceed that 49-minute mark and reach up to 90 minutes, but do not exceed 90 minutes. So that's an additional sweet spot there to give them the additional support that they need. So that's one of the cool things about the MyPath, that it gives them the right amount of instruction right where they need it to meet the student where they're at. This is how the 3 to 8 dashboard looks like. A little more mature. Same concepts. So after they completed work, they have the ability to go see their past work to see, one, what they scored on the diagnostic, as well as what they have scored on those lessons, and see if there's any rules for improvement. As you can see there. So if I'm looking at the lesson vocabulary, they got a 73%. That may be a lesson that if I see that as a parent, right, I might go back and really review that lesson with my child to see exactly what caused them to get a 73%, review it, and hopefully, that 73 can shoot up something that's higher. Because although the goal is 70%, can never go wrong with getting higher than 70%. So a little bit of incentives are also built in within the platform. So after students are completing their lessons, right, they have what's called their My Stuff. So for grades K to 2, as you can see, they can pick buddies, backgrounds, themes, and play games with the coins. Students that are in grades 3 plus, they can change their backgrounds as well as get reward options. So a way to kind of incentivize and motivate the students to want to do their MyPaths. So we've kind of already went through the steps. So your student has already taken their diagnostic, but for the next diagnostic that's coming up, as mentioned in the January age range, this is typically what we want to do at home to ensure we're getting our students prepared to take their diagnostic, right? Things that we want to reinforce with them, tell them before coming to school, before they're about to take the diagnostic, which is take your time, do not rush, try your best for math and for reading, kind of key tips there, and checking their work. The big one, take your time and do not rush. So with our diagnostic, we're able to really pinpoint which students are rushing versus not. And the way we do that is, it's been a study on average, if students spend less than 11 seconds per question, that means that they're rushing, right? And usually when they take the diagnostic, either a yellow flag is going to pop up or a red flag is going to pop up. A yellow flag indicates that the student may have rushed, right? They could have taken their time to the assessment. They probably got to a question that they didn't know or understand, so therefore they just breezed through it. That's normal. A student that has a red flag, that just means that student sat there and just started clicking away, not really taking time to understand what's going on and just want to get the assessment over. So usually when a student gets a red flag, the teacher has a conversation with that student to see what happened, right? Prior to having a conversation, informs them that, hey, this assessment, again, is to pinpoint your strengths and help us identify what needs you need in order to close those gaps. After that conversation is had, then the assessment could be reset. So then your child will have another opportunity to take the diagnostic, right? But that's one thing, that's a good thing for a teacher who would name to you if that was to occur with your child, like, hey, I had to reset such and such diagnostic because they didn't take it seriously the first time. So that's the option. So to avoid that, really hitting with our students that do not rush, take your time, answer the question to the best of your ability, because at the end of it, it's going to really assess what you know and what you don't know to help support you. So after taking a diagnostic, they're going to have the option to choose either reading or math. They click the diagnostic. So the cool thing with for our students that are in K to 2, so they get a video. In this video, it's sort of a pump ups. It explains to them what the diagnostic is, how to take the diagnostic, how to take your time. Also gives them tools to review, and they must click every single tool and before they can move on. For our students that are in grades 3 and up, they do have the option to skip the video, but we always recommend to teachers and instruct teachers like, hey, although that's an option, have your students click through the videos because, again, you're getting tips, you're getting hints on how to take your assessment, and it goes over exactly what you need to do to make sure you're doing your best. After the completion of the diagnostic for grades K to 2, they get a little monster that confirms that they finished their assessment. For our students that are grades 3 and up, they get a score. They don't know what this score means, right? I've been in some schools where they take the diagnostic and you just scream out, I got a 439, but you don't know what that means. So this is something our teachers have. They have conversation with the students prior, like, hey, especially for 3 and up, you're gonna get a score. It's just a number. You don't know what it means. We're gonna have a conversation after to debrief what 439 really means, right? Because they get excited, like, what you got? I got a 450. I got a 439. I got a 500. We love friendly competition, but not when it's going to disrupt other people from taking their assessment as well. So this is for 3 and up. So then for after the diagnostic, again, back to the diagnostic results, which I'll walk you through in just a second. So these are the can do's and next steps that I was talking about. So for this example here, this is a comprehension informational text. So these are the things that the child can do within that domain, and these are going to be the next steps and resources for instruction that the teacher can do with that child to support that domain. The other cool thing is that our teachers get what's called tools for instruction for both math and ELA. So teachers are able to use these to really target the students or student that needs additional support in more of like a small group setting to really close that gap with those students. So if I'm a student that struggle with compare fractions, right, I may be one of the students that my teachers pull, hey, come to the rug with your whiteboard, with your pen and paper, right, and we're gonna go over this lesson, compare fractions. Same for reading. Let's say I'm struggling with how to explore multi-meaning words. Great, come to the rug. We're gonna go over it as a group or one-on-one. So personalized instruction. I know I mentioned this kind of a few times already. So this is the My Path. So after the completion of the diagnostic, your child gets an individualized plan based on their skill level, and that is what's called their My Path, which is called personalized instruction. So personalized instructions provide students with lessons based on their individual skill so they can learn at the pace that's best suited for them. So they're challenging, right? But it's the right amount of challenge to get our students to be, one, handle that challenge and be on par to being on grade level. And they're very interactive and fun, which students really enjoy. So again, it uses a combination of explicit instruction, guided or independent practice, and it's usually a short, scored quiz to help them understand and students know what they did. The cool thing is it also provides the student feedback in the moment. So as I'm doing a mathematical problem or if I'm doing a reading text comprehension, let's say I get something wrong, it's going to give me the feedback there in a moment. So my job is to take that feedback, implement it to ensure that I'm not getting it wrong the second time around. So here are some examples of those lessons. For kindergarten, right, recognize letters, the ums and the t's. For third grade, it may look as determining word meanings. And when your child gets there for seventh grade, more so reading comprehension, citing evidence, informational text. So although it may look a little interactive, right, it still meets the demand and it gives our students really challenging work to assess their performance. So some example of some kindergarten lessons. So grade 5 vocabulary, determining word meanings using prefixes. All right, so now I'm gonna run you through, guys, run through how that report would look like. So teachers will usually have conferences or give you the diagnostic results report. And this, you want them to log in so they can see it?
You can show them that I'll.
Okay. So this is a demo account. It's not real data. It's no child's data in here, right? So let's say I have my student Anya Jordan, fifth grade student, and this is their her report. So it gives me her performance in for math. This is her overall performance in math. So to be considered on grade level for fifth grade, there's a range of 480 to 540, right? On the first test, she got a scale score of 479. So literally 1 point below grade level, right? Easy close gap there that I can do with Anya. It also gives you the national norm, meaning how does your student compare across nationally to other students that have taken our diagnostic. Sometimes, if it's the beginning of the year, you may only see the first bar because it's only the first assessment they've taken. At the end of the year, you'll be able to compare all three assessments, as well as it will show you how the student has progressed from assessment. So as you can see here, plus 13 points, they grew 13 points. And then in that final assessment, they grew 32 points. This means two things. One, whoever the teacher was for this class was really purposeful and challenged Anya and provided the right amount of instruction to ensure that she grew, as well as the support at home was really high as well, because you can see it correlated both. So great growth here for Anya. On this side here, you can see the domains, so how she performed overall. So it tells you if your child is either performing at the grade level they're in, below the grade level they're in, or severely below the grade level they're in. And like mentioned earlier, right, it's just data for us to know where our child is, where our student is, in hopes to, again, get them on the path to being proficient and getting them the tools and resources they need to understand grade level content.
And it's really important as parents to know what those domains are. So in math, it's number sense and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, geometry, and measurement. Those are the four domains that our kids are assessed on in mathematics. When you're talking about reading, it's phonemic awareness, the sounds that our letters are making. Phonics, our kids' ability to make sense of those sounds with letters and words. High frequency words, those typical words that we're seeing based on sight that are right in front of us that our kids should be aware of. Vocabulary, comprehension of literature, and then comprehension of informational text. Each of those comes together for one score. And what you see as a parent, you'll have scores in each one of those domains. So you might be really strong in one area, but you also might be struggling somewhere else. And that's what this assessment diagnostic report shows you as a parent.
Thank you. All right, so I think this is a better example here. Again, Brian, one diagnostic, he's a third grade student, and performing at grade 3 for each of the each of the domains we just mentioned. So let's say I wanted to find out some additional suggestions. Well, once you scroll down in your report, we provide those additional suggestions for you. One being to discuss the results with your child. Hey, I saw you took your diagnostic this morning at school, right? Let's look over that report. What does it really mean? Oh, I see that you scored this. Okay, it means you're either you're on the right path, or it means that we need to do a little bit more work here at home combined with at school to ensure that we're closing that gap to get you to be on grade level. And let's say you don't know how to do that, and that's completely fine. That's normal. You can reach out to the teacher. Hey, what are some additional resources? What are some additional support? What do you recommend? What are some things that I can do at home with my child to ensure that I'm getting them the things that they need to have access to the content, to be on grade level, and get them on either to be advanced, proficient on that grade. And there may be a lot of key terms on this report that you don't understand. That's also fine, which is why we really front load a lot of stuff for parents, such as in understanding the key terms. So like the national norms, right? I may not know what that means. That's fine. Scroll down. It will list out exactly for you what it means, what it indicates, as well as how to monitor the domains, the skills, and what is that more information pertaining to that domain. So when you like really sit down, look at this report, really study it, reaching out to that teacher and be like, okay, my student scored below grade level for number and operations. What can I do at home to support him? Right? So this is what a math report would look like. For reading, very similar. Only difference, you have the 7 domains. So one thing to know, if you can see, if not. So for phonological awareness, if this applies to you, it says not assessed. That means that this student did not need to take the phonological awareness assessment because either for 2 reasons. One, they have tested out of it, or 2, they no longer need to be tested within that domain. There's another one that says surpass level. That means your child has surpassed the the band for that domain range. So that's a good thing as well. Another thing is that it measures your child lexile level. So for this student here, the lexile measure is a 730, and then their reading range is between a 630 and 780. So what does that mean? When you're shopping for books for your students, you can always go to the library or even online, Amazon. I've seen that they've had it. You can also search books based on the lexile level, meaning those are the levels that's the level that your child is on. So for this student here, I would search for books that are 730. And you can also click there's a link that's provided within the report. And you can also go ahead here and search up those books based on the lexile levels. And then similar, understanding the key terms, and then what does it mean for a domain, and more information based on it. So that's how the report would look like. This is, give me 1 second, it logged me out. So I'm gonna give you guys a view of how it would look like for your child's um, account. There we go. All right, so your child has logged into the iReady. This is the first thing they see, choosing either reading or math. Click the reading, and here we go. I can see the teacher assigned lessons, as well as the MyPath lessons. So this is how a lesson would look like. This is a 4th grade class lesson. So let's say. So that's the lesson itself giving me feedback, letting me know that was incorrect, and it's giving me again the feedback, telling me what some additional places to look, such as clues, to reinforce that skill there. So look around the word for clues that tell its meaning. Let's say I don't listen to the feedback. I guessed it, but that's what it will look like when you get it right. All right. And then similar, the teacher assigned lessons. Again, the progress bars, how much time they spent on, how many lessons passed, as well as any streak that they may have had, as well as their stuff. And then So that's how the report looks like, and that's how the student my path looks like. Now let's talk about getting support. So we have what's called the iReady Family Center. So you can go ahead and Google and type in iReady Family Center, and it'll pop up right there for you. And in this Family Center, you can get more insight and information on how to read that family report that I mentioned to you, as well as additional things and resources to help your child at home, such as help with reading, help with math. Really front loads a lot of key things for us and how to support our student at home. So if I go right, what is iReady? Some frequently asked questions, tech support, how to understand the iReady lessons at home data trackers. This is a great resource. So think of these as an incentive base, right? Okay, I see that in your MyPath, your teacher has assigned such and such assignments to you, or that I know that you need to be on your MyPath for 30 to 49 minutes a week for both math and ELA. You can download these trackers yourself and kind of put them on your wall and have your child color it in every single time that they finish a lesson, showing everyone that they're on path to meeting their goal, and then kind of making it like a fun activity and incentive based activity towards the end of the week. Great resource. All right. So our key takeaways from today is that the iReady diagnostic provides information for students, teachers, so they can meet the needs of your student. It helps our students by encouraging them to do their best on the assessment, and it provides us with the use of resources available to support you guys, the families, every step of the way. Now I'm gonna open the floor up for any questions. Unfortunately, not. Yeah, sorry.
So the session is recorded,
Yeah.
and it will be available on our district site. So you can always go right through this whole presentation will be available to you, which is not necessarily the slides themselves, but you'll see the video of the entire
Yeah.
session. D25.nyc. Yeah.
And then if you have any of the additional questions regarding iReady, I can show you how to look for that in the Family Center. Yes.
I have a question. So these lessons that are created by in the MyPath, are these lessons that we should be doing with our child, or is it something that's done in school?
So I know it's a school based thing, but students do have access to log into their MyPath at home. So if you want to work with them at home with them at home as well, that's also an option. The only thing I would be wary of is to you're there to compliment the child, to help them, right, in completing the instruction, more so than us doing it for them. They're the ones, yes. So it's a balance of both. They can do it at,
Okay,
yeah,
so it's either or that we could do.
yeah.
The other question I had was I would just log on to my child's account and I saw his progress and what lessons he got wrong or didn't complete well.
Okay.
Are we able to see that percentage, like what was wrong or what he did or what was done in that lesson?
So that's the feedback we regularly get, and I give myself. So unfortunately, no, you're only able to see what if they passed it or didn't pass. If you know the name of the lesson itself, you can reach out to your child's teacher, and they can look up like the objective of that lesson. Yeah, and they can
The issue is obviously, I have to know what was done there.
exactly.
In order to have a reference,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so I have to reach out to someone.
Yeah. But if you knowing the objective kind of offsets that, well, okay, they didn't get this lesson correct because they didn't understand X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Yeah, because I just see the name of the lesson and I see what it is. It says count to 10 and then I don't know.
But you don't know exactly. That's a fair point. Good question.
If the teacher is not posting assignments, are you still able to access the MyPath or practice?
Yes, because there's the MyPath, which are automated lessons that are generated by the iReady platform. The teacher assigned lessons are just additional lessons that complements that. So teachers necessarily don't even have to assign lessons if they didn't want to, but your child is always going to get a lesson from the MyPath.
So as soon as the diagnostic is finished, it puts the child on their own learning path, and they get lessons aligned with how they performed on the assessment.
Those teacher assigned lessons are more so lessons that teachers use to kind of reinforce a specific skill that they want to teach to the child. Great question. Yeah. Say that one more time.
Can parents see the lessons ahead of time?
If the teacher, for the MyPath ones, no. For the teacher assigned ones, if the teacher has let's say they've assigned 5 or 6 lessons ahead of time, then you'll be able to see those upcoming lessons. But only if they do that.
So the one thing that we want to make sure that we encourage our parents not to do is to work in any way for our kids. Because with our best intent to try to help, we wind up doing for, and then the system doesn't know that you just gave your child the correct answer. So it'll allow them to continue to get bumped up into the program as though your child was successful, when it was really maybe myself that kind of gave a little nudge and said, oh, maybe you want to think about this one right here. Right? So sometimes in our best efforts of being helpful, we don't necessarily support our child's growth in that way.
And then when they take their second diagnostic, that data also is not going to match. We're going to go here, then there.
Actually, I have 3 questions. Yes.
Oh, okay.
First is, my older kid, she told me that her teacher says that she's being busy at better classes here because she did writing lessons in math and English and the system came out to high grades. Is that true? That you get busy at a better class because of that?
I'm going to front that to you.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for what the teacher shared. That we can speak about separately. I'm not sure why that's shared. I mean, the goal of any of these things is for our kids to improve. It's not to improve because they're going to get a better status in a given class. The goal is to improve.
That's what you're saying.
I can't speak to what was said. I can tell you that's not my stance.
It's possible that maybe the teacher was
It could be. Maybe, perhaps. I can't answer that.
Okay, another two questions.
Yeah.
My young kids are wanting to ask, well, how come I really don't have subject in science and social studies?
That's something that we're currently working on. I know for science, yeah, I'm not sure about social studies, but science is something we've been working on.
Last question. Is it possible, she's saying, to have better and more math games? She really like those.
I'll give that feedback to to the people of higher up.
That's the one thing that iReady does do. It will take the feedback that's provided. So
What grade?
that's something that we can certainly escalate up for sure.
What grade is you?
I'm a 3rd grade and 4th grade, I guess.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
of course.
The fluctuation would be apparent, right? Let's say you have overzealous parents working with the child at home. You said the child would be independent, but sometimes you have parents encouraging, not even answering. The fluctuations would be apparent, right? They're good at versus at school. Is there a way that the system accounts for that?
Not really, because it kind of falls in between the ranges. So, like that 30 to 49 minute like sweet spot. So if they're hitting that spot or even above, it's just going to add to their total minutes. So it's not going to know the difference between me doing it in school versus doing it at home. It's just going to know you're doing the MyPath in general.
Okay, so it's not tracked.
No.
It's not.
So just remember too that the lessons are intended to be aligned with where the child's currently performing. So they won't be so far over a child's ability to access it on their own. I think just sometimes we want them to get over that hump a little bit faster, and maybe perhaps not with any malintent, we wind up giving them a little bit more information than we should for them to struggle with it a little bit. But yeah.
The teachers also should be reaching out to you if your child is exceeding minutes. And what I mean by that is, let's say your child is consistently averaging 70 minutes, right? But then there's no growth in their passing rate. So they're not meeting that 70% or higher rate of pass. So either they're just on the lessons and not really trying their best or not really gaining access. So that kind of is that balance of like, yes, again, not exceeding 90 minutes, but also being on it, but also making sure that you're passing lessons and understanding the content, so that way you're progressing.
I guess I was just speaking to that, the possible discrepancy or influence of parental input. Just the first time they're tested, they're compared to all of the students in the system, correct?
Yes.
And then subsequently, they're compared to only the other kids in their class.
No. Every time they take the diagnostic, they're compared across all the students that have taken our diagnostics. Not even
In their grades,
across
correct.
every student that's taken a diagnostic, from across all districts, all states.
So you're saying those difficulties will just keep on increasing, but the parents continue to, put their 2 cents in, they're kind of just making it harder for them to reach it.
Yeah, because think of it this way: if they're able to do, if you're providing them the feedback in the moment, or if you're just doing it for them in that moment, then when it's time for them to really sit down and be independent and take the assessment themselves, they now don't have that reliance that you're giving them. Now they have to take it, depend on themselves, and so the same result won't be there because you're not there.
Yeah, and I think
building up those habits with them, right? Yes, you can do it with them, but at the same time, challenging them, giving them the proper, tools and resources, but allowing them to struggle through the problem, and you're just there to reinforce.
And I think it's a great opportunity just in terms of that homeschool connection and sharing with teacher, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. I want to let you know, as Mike was going through the lesson today, I want to make you aware, I did not want to necessarily give him answers, but here were some of the struggles that I also noticed. It's a little bit of a balancing act that we have to take as parents because we want our kids to be successful.
I've actually never been on.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is a good opportunity. So I'm glad that you're here then, because listen, I have an 8th and a 10th grader, and there are times that that myself as a parent, long day, you worked all day, you get home maybe tonight like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and Matthew's struggling with math, right? So then what do you do with the struggles in math, especially after a long day? It becomes our own bandwidth is a lot smaller. So how do we make sure that we wind up connecting in a way where I don't want to just do all of the work for Matthew and then he gets to go to school tomorrow and say I completed my assignment, because I'm not necessarily helping him either. And that's the tough balancing act. But I'm glad you're here to hear a little bit about what iReady has to offer. Yeah. But that's great too for even at first grade. No, it's great for first grade as well. I mean, this is where we start. We start in kindergarten. And, the biggest part about everyone being here and that I appreciate so much is it's about awareness. The more aware we are, the better we can provide supports for our kids when they need it. The less information that we have, the harder it is for us to connect with the school, the harder it is to connect with where is my child currently struggling or doing so well that you're like, oh my God, I'm going to do a little bit of a dance right now because they're doing amazing. Right? But if I don't pay attention to some of these things, because I don't have the awareness, it limits our ability to do that. Which is why I'm so happy that you guys are here and that we're able to record this for anyone else that wants to come on, just to pay attention to it. And I saw another parent, yeah.
Does that lesson in sync with the math textbook? Let's say a mission or
So it may or may not. So if there is an area that a teacher specifically assigned, it should be for a reason. So I'm having a hard time with my, my ability to solve some type of an algebra problem, the teacher may assign that. It might not necessarily be what I'm doing in this unit of study, but I feel like so-and-so is able to handle these lessons in the moment to try to build up some of that muscle. Because sometimes it's an algebra lesson that's necessary from the previous grade that a child might not have mastered that will help them be prepared for the next set of units that are coming up. So it doesn't always. Can it? Yes. But does it always? No.
And it's still adaptive.
Say again?
And it's still adaptive.
The assessment itself,
The assessment's
the
adaptive.
lessons are no, yeah.
Yeah. The
And
lessons, no. The assessment, yes.
on that same breath, more than likely the lessons that teachers are assigning are going to be, and I'm glad you named that, are lessons that are prerequisites needed for whatever they're learning in class, right? So let's say multiplication. Yeah, multiplication. The prerequisite to that will be knowing how to do 2 by 2 additives. So that might be a lesson that a teacher might front load to a student prior to actually getting to that lesson. I highly doubt a teacher will ever assign a lesson that it's above a student's capacity. You know, yeah. Because even in my path, the automated one, it wouldn't do that. It's going to give them, it's going to challenge them, give them challenging lessons, yeah, but the right amount of challenge. I know we had a question over here.
I thought I saw another hand.
You get the report, the initial report, and you see the deficiencies. Are you able to then request that the teacher assign certain things to help to support, to strengthen those?
Sure you could.
You can.
Sure.
What if she doesn't do it?
Well, then that's a separate conversation that you have with leadership around
Are you
that.
going to call iReady and ask for support?
No, that's a school level conversation. Yeah, that's a school level conversation.
Is there a question?
Yes. Okay, thank you. So, I know that we have our login to get into iReady at home, but I know that it's also used for the testing purposes and not to use at home.
Yeah, so when it is testing time, the kids will have that, and Lush, you can probably explain this better than me. But when it is assessment time, that is something that the kids will get a specific link from their teachers in order to engage in that assessment. So we shouldn't be doing any kind of testing at home.
No, but I'm saying if you do iReady at home, that's fine. It's just that you won't have access when it's time for them to do the assessments. You basically wouldn't be able to get in, log in, right? Like, how would you know that they're doing the assessment at that time?
I understand.
I
I understand her question.
Yeah.
So with the 3 assessments, so let's talk about the first one that was assigned, right? I already took care of that assessment and assigned that assessment based on the window that they told us. So within the regular logins that you have, her dashboard, that assessment was there. It's no longer there because the testing window closed. So those assessments only pop up during the school's testing window. After the testing windows have closed, you no longer see those assessments.
Correct, but what I'm saying, you wouldn't be able to log in at that time because they would need access to it at school.
No, you still can't log in.
You still log in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then
With us doing activities at home,
That's not going to impact you.
it's not going to impact.
No.
But more than likely, the assessment is done in school, obviously, and you wouldn't see
you
it.
don't have access.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it when your child goes home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know some schools, some districts do that where they've assigned the diagnostic, and some parents go home and log in like, oh, what's this? Then they start taking the diagnostic like, whoa, no.
As long as we can't see it on.
But that's on the school. School knows what they're doing there.
Yeah. And if there were any issues, they can always reset and redo if
Yeah.
necessary.
Also, with the iReady, I understand it's the grade level that the child is on. Are there instances where the child is being assessed on a lesson that the teacher did not yet cover?
Yes.
Yeah. So the assessment will give kids questions that are kind of below where they might be performing, at where they're performing, and above where they're performing, because it's a growth type of an assessment. So it wants to find the just right spot for where your child's currently performing. So it'll continue to push them until they can't necessarily respond. So we at times may have a child, just for example, that's a 5th grader, that very well may wind up testing in 6th grade standards in certain spaces, 5th grade standards in certain spaces, and 4th grade standards in certain spaces, depending on where they fall within the assessment.
So they use the data in the SLT meetings, and a lot of times, the levels,
Oh, what school? So I can go and tell them thank you
oh, wow.
for doing that at SLT meetings.
Yeah, so, it's, but, it seems like the kids are tested on lessons that were not yet covered. So, I'm trying to make sense of why it's used in the data if they're not yet, if it wasn't covered.
Yeah, because it's not about the teacher per se, it's about where the individual child is. So where is Mike right now? And maybe Mike is performing above grade level, and I need to organize myself as teacher to really continue to push Mike, because I'm seeing that he's performing really, really well. And vice versa. Maybe perhaps I'm doing well in a given area, but I'm struggling here. How do I organize myself as teacher, but also for you as parents? If I know that my child's struggling with their ability to decode, those become important conversations to have. You know, when my child can't sound out words, it's hard for them to comprehend what's in the text. You know, so, you know, that's what you wind up getting from this tool.
My kids was telling me if you fail the same lesson 2 times, and you keep getting other lessons wrong, because I noticed in the last 20s, these lessons, and when the quiz part, the test part, we failed twice. That was basically it. Can't do it 3rd time.
So what she was referring to is, so it's great that you guys have access to your students' MyPath, like their logins, and you're able to see if they're passing lessons or not. That's very important, because if your child is not passing lessons and they continue to fail lessons within a specific domain, that domain becomes shut off. So you wouldn't see this, your teacher will see this, but there will be like a yellow flag that indicates that, oh, your child has failed multiple lessons across geometry, right? Red would mean that that domain has been shut off because the child has failed, multiple lessons across the same domain multiple times. So whenever you see your child is, hey, like, I know you failed this lesson yesterday, it's back, you failed it again, right? Be wary of that, because that's what's gonna lead to that. So once domains are shut off, they don't receive instruction on that domain until the teacher goes and turns that domain back on. But the teacher just doesn't see, oh, domain off, turn back on. No, the teacher sees domain off, great, let's have a conversation, let's dig into your data, see what's going on there. You may need a little bit more support in geometry, great, this is the plan, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna turn your domain back on, and that way there's a plan in place. It's just not to turn it on.
My question is to what is saying is, like you're saying, if she keep failing these tests, these quiz and tests, her teacher said that she should be locked out. Is that true? Well, that's
Failed her iReady lessons or class?
those iReady lessons, and it's going to show you the power.
It's gonna shut the domain is gonna turn off. Yes.
No, it's gonna lock her out.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. So if we can just hold on to that one just for a second, we can follow up with Larson just individually. We have about 15 minutes left, and we have our iPads. I would love it if everyone would open up the iPads. On the bottom portion of the iPad, you'll see a little cube. The little cube is orange, green, and blue. That is the iReady app. Everyone should have received a card with your child's user ID and password. Did everyone receive their user ID and password? So if you can, just enter in your child's user ID and password, clicking on the little square on the bottom. Enter in your child's information. That way you can just log in, get a little bit of feel for it. And Marcin, could I just ask you for a favor to go back to the demo screen where you have the login, just so that everyone can see what it looks like? where you entered in as a student?
The dashboard or the report?
The actual where they would log in as their own child with the family center at the top? Yeah.
We do anything that we can include with Facebook account, but
Yeah, so MyPath allows, so every kid that completes the assessment should be put on MyPath.
I didn't know we had this tool.
That's the code to see the reports. Yeah, to see the family reports. Family reports, the code's right up on the board. And then it's going to give you kind of a detailed example of the areas that she did well or the areas that she might be struggling.
Yeah, I have received that report.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm going to follow up with the school around the MyPath because you guys should be able to access MyPath for the kids.
Yeah, I haven't heard about my plan.
Okay. Yeah, I will follow up with them for sure.
If you guys want to see that family report, which we talked about earlier, once you're logged in the top right-hand corner where it says for families, click that, and it's going to give you a drop-down, and it's going to say report. Click that report, and then it's going to ask you for the code. This is the code that you're going to enter.
Okay, let me see if I get it on mine. Is everyone able to log on? You able to get it now? Yes. Yeah, you got it. Good. You're welcome. Of 100, he's in the 99th percentile. Yeah.
I don't know. My first kids, I'm better. I'm coming
Yeah, yeah.
a lot of things.
I did that.
Oops.
No, I think that number.
So his school. What school are you? 22. They might not use iReady reading. So on Wednesday we're doing another session for the little ones on Acadians. So Acadians is the reading session. So some schools for the little ones they'll do iReady and Acadians. What we ask them to do at the very least is Acadians. So that's the screening tool for kindergarten, first and second grade for reading. That's on Wednesday. Okay? No. It's that one's virtual. Okay? Yeah.
Question about that.
Yeah.
If they're using the iReady reading, then they wouldn't.
So some schools will choose to. What I asked them to do is Acadians for the screener. Some schools choose to administer both of those assessments.
Okay, because I signed up for the Acadians app. Just
Yeah.
wondering if I need to do that.
So they all use iReady for kindergarten through 8th grade for math. 3rd grade through 8th grade for reading is iReady. Kindergarten to 2nd grade, the only reason we do that is because the screening tool for reading is just a little bit more robust with Acadians than for the little ones in iReady. Yeah. But some like to have both just to have as a means of comparison and such. So so for iReady, we're going to be doing another one mid-year. I want to bring everyone else back, get on those computers, see what's going on, how they're performing. For me, it's about let's make sure we're all connected on this. Yeah. So that each time during the year, even if you just take a couple of minutes just to pop in, but the content's not going to be different. You're still going to need to, the login's still going to be the same. It's just about checking in more than anything else. Yeah. I want parents just to know, just to have knowledge.
I completely got a different message. So his teacher, my kids in kindergarten.
Yeah.
His teacher came in one day and it said that, this is games, and I was like, okay, fine. So I installed it, and then now it's like and then I came. So in the beginning they were telling us, iReady is an assessment, and I was like, okay, fine. So I was at
Yeah.
When I went to get into A-level and stuff.
Yeah. Well, especially for the little ones, they make it more game-like.
Right.
so that so that it's it's not. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And that's the one good part about the reports is that we're able to connect with them, ask some questions, and then make some good choices for kids in the classroom.
I just wish they would tell us, like on here, that at least they would tell us like what.
I know. You know what? I
It
think
takes, like, 10
because it's an adaptive assessment, they don't want to necessarily release the questions. They don't want folks to prepare their kids for the questions because they want to just get in. Here's where the kid is.
Yeah, so. But then the other half of me was like, hey, this is what the same
Don't get me wrong. It's not that I just being able to ask questions with the school. Making sure that if there are certain things that there's a struggle, what are we doing about this? My child's struggling here. They're doing well there. What's happening in the curriculum?
Mine's a special needs, so.
Yeah.
Mine's is, he's in the rising.
Okay, great.
So I was like,
Hi, Gladys.
I especially have to be like on top and kind of.
I love that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm like.
Was that 219 or 219? Yeah. Terrific. But yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.